All right, here we go. Welcome to Triggered. Welcome to Triggered, the masterclass. I am so excited to have you here. I am so excited to be able to show you these things, like give you this insight. Trigger is important to talk about as we will always in our life experience triggers. And what I want to talk to you about in this masterclass and show you and teach you is how we can navigate it from our power and not let the trigger win over us per se. So the important part is here, we will always be triggered our entire lives. We cannot not have triggers, just like we're never done healing. We can't tick it off on a to-do list, be like, yeah, finish triggers, ka-ding. Doesn't work like that. We always will have triggers. So the point of this masterclass is to teach you how to be with them in your power and not let them lead in your life. That is why it's so important to learn it, because we often, when we meet a trigger, we can have this unfortunate thing where we actually regret what we do when we are triggered. So let's say I'm super triggered and I yell at my kids. That's not something I really want to be doing. Now, I don't have kids, but I could be yelling at my niece, or I could be having a really bad day and I could be hissing at the person in the supermarket because they're doing too slow or whatever it is. We can accidentally take all this triggered energy and place it outside of us upon other people who have nothing to do with this. So we are talking about this. So we are done doing that. So we can actually process the trigger within us so it doesn't have to be afflicted onto other people. Because when we let the trigger afflict onto other people, that means the trigger has the power over us. And also oftentimes triggers are something that we might know we have a trigger. Maybe you know that so I have a trigger about my body. I don't feel good in my body. So whenever I see whenever I go to the gym and I see people who are really strong, I feel triggered because I'm not strong. Then I don't want to go. And then you don't go. And then you accidentally design your life around something that you don't do because it triggers you. So the trigger can actually hold so much power over you all the time without us even knowing. Hello, my love, Kim. So good to see you. So the trigger can actually hold so much power over us that we design our lives. It can be stuff like, well, my ex-boyfriend lives in this area, so I'm just never going to go to this area ever again. Or I'm never going to visit this city. Or I know someone, or I once kissed with a guy who I think works around here, so I don't want to go around here because I don't want to meet the guy. Like we can accidentally place ourselves in a situation where all these triggers, because we seldomly have one, so all these triggers can actually limit our experience of life because it chooses for us where we can and cannot go, what we can and cannot do, which we are not available for. The more triggers you have without working on your personal power, the less free you are. The more you work on your personal power to sit with these triggers, the more free you'll be. And that's what I'm teaching you today. And that's why this is a free masterclass, because this is so important. This is so important that we learn these skills. And I made a PowerPoint, so let's see if we can get this to work. All right, can we all see this? Is this working? Yes, yes, good. All right. So triggers happen when you are faced with a situation, moment, conversation, image, etc. It can be many things that triggers it, that evokes a feeling that you do not want to feel. It happens automatically. So it can be felt in many different ways. It can be felt physically, emotionally, mentally. Maybe your stomach hurt. Maybe sadness arises. Maybe panic thoughts occur. Can be a lot of things that happens when we are triggered. They have a very different ways of showing themselves. Often it's something like we get mad, we get annoyed, we get pissed off, we become defensive, we become sad, we become angry. We have these feelings that are really quite big. And often there's this sense of nausea. There is this sense of your heart beating too fast in your chest. And we have many things that can trigger these things. It's not only in the present, the past can also really trigger you. So maybe there's a certain smell that triggers a memory. We always have this. There's a certain smell, it smells like grandma's house. And then when you smell that smell, you're transported back to grandma's house. Now that's a good trigger because it brings you back. It activates you back to your grandma's house. But it can also be something really bad. Personally, I had a friend who almost died from substance abuse. So whenever I smell weed or hashish or whatever the difference is, I don't know. Whenever I smell that, I'm transported back to him almost dying. So for many years, I would completely avoid anyone or anything that would smell like hashish. And if I would walk past someone on the street smoking weed, my body would react in an intense way. So that trigger was holding power over me, and I had to do a lot of healing work to get past that. I'm going to be using that example throughout the masterclass. So that could be a smell. It can also be maybe you hear the words, "we need to talk." And we're like, ugh, oh, really? Do we need to talk? Because maybe we need to talk meant that in a previous state of your life, maybe that meant your ex-boyfriend was leaving you, and then you associate we need to talk with being left and being abandoned and having immense heartbreak. And that in your brain leads to we need to talk equals, ow, heartbreak, no, thank you. And then your body will respond. So here's what happens when we have a trigger. We have an experience, and it's really hard to find an emoji kind of thing that looks like an experience. So I took this. We have an experience. It can be any different sort of experience. It can literally be a smell. It can be someone saying something. It can be a video. It can be conversation, anything. So we have an experience, and what happens with this experience is that it goes up to our brain. We process this information to the brain into a place that's called amygdala. Amygdala is the fear part of your brain. When it comes up to amygdala, it says, hey, this is dangerous. And then amygdala has this little, let's call him a librarian guy. And the librarian guy from the fear center goes to what's known as the hippocampus, another part of the brain. The hippocampus is like the library. So once amygdala is triggered, fear part of the brain, little librarian guy goes back to hippocampus and he looks, have we tried this before? If we have tried it before and it was fine, we don't panic. If we have tried it before and it was bad and we didn't like it, we start to panic because we enter the triggered state, which is also here where we meet fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And this is why we can act very out of alignment, very, very much out of alignment. So I also just want to say, like, if you are feeling this, don't be scared about it. It's very, very normal to feel really triggered. And this is also why we can act so much out of alignment when we are triggered. It's because we are caught in a triggered state. We are almost in quicksand of this triggered state. So we can act by yelling at our kids, hissing at the neighbor, being super destructive, going in a defense mode, whatever it is. We can be very trapped in this triggered state because our brain basically believes we're fighting off some saber-toothed tiger when we are this triggered. Now, that doesn't mean we are this triggered, and it doesn't mean anything bad. It's just how the brain works. It's very smart. It's trying to support you. But we humans are smarter than our brains. So we get to work with the brain. We get to work with our biology instead of fighting against it and not feeling good about it. So this leads me to the next part. All right. So there are 3 different kinds of triggers. In my most humble opinion, there are 3 different kinds of triggers. We have the emotional, the physical, and the mental kinds of triggers. Now, we can also say, well, there's also triggers in your senses. I would say that's a physical. Maybe there's also triggers in conversations. Yes, that might be emotional. Maybe there are triggers when you watch an image of a quote unquote perfect body. Yes, that's emotional/mental. So we can always put these triggers within these three boxes. So there are three different ways we have these triggers: in our feelings, in our body, and in our thoughts. Now, all of these three different kinds of triggers, they can either bring you upwards or downwards. Because the beautiful thing about triggers is that sometimes you get a good trigger. Sometimes you have a really, really good trigger. And that means maybe you are witnessing someone who climbed Kilimanjaro or who opened up that kind of business. And then you see someone do it and you're like, fuck, I get to do that too. I get to do that too. And yes, you do. You get to do that too. That's the magic of it. You get to do that too. So the beauty here is that a trigger is not just a bad thing. A trigger is always an invitation for you to grow. Always. It's always an activating button for where you can grow and evolve as who you are, which is so, so, so beautiful. So you can always, always grow when you have these triggers. They simply show you where can you give yourself a little more love? Where can you be kinder to yourself? Where can we grow from? So a positive trigger could be someone's launching something and you're like, oh my God, I can do that too. That's amazing. I feel so inspired. That's also a trigger, but that's a positive trigger. This is when we want to do something about it. Where a negative or a downward trigger is when you start going into that downward spiral and you just know, fuck, now we're going dark places. Hold your horses, buckle up your seatbelts. Ah, we're going dark places. Oh no. Like this is also the triggers. That's also possible. So what it is, it's very simple. The common denominator of triggers is they make you feel a feeling that you don't want to feel. These are the downward spiral ones, because the upward spiral ones just give you a fire under your butt and then you keep going. So I'm not going to be talking too much about them, just acknowledging they exist too. But the common denominator of triggers is that they make you feel a feeling you do not want to feel. It's very simple. So let's say my good friend with the weed situation, when I smell weed, I feel unable to help them. I feel sad. I feel scared because they were literally about to die. They were admitted to hospital because of substance abuse for so long time. I was really, really scared. So whenever I smell weed, I get scared and I feel helpless because I couldn't help them at all. I couldn't do anything, couldn't even visit them. I feel stuck in sadness. That is what I feel when I smell weed. And that's just a feeling. My friend is fine today. They're absolutely fine. But I still carry the feeling. And you might still carry feelings for something that's on process, that still holds triggers, that still holds a piece of your power over you. That's very plausible that you are doing that. So you might also be reading a post on social media and then you can be super triggered by it. A lot of people can be very triggered by stuff I write, for instance. And then you can get mad at the post and then you get annoyed at the person writing it. Maybe you even want to write something mean in the post. I doubt that you are doing it because you are doing the work being here. But you know, that's how internet trolls are made. They get triggered by something and then they take all the energy and like, plah, put it in your face of the creator of whatever it is. So it could be, if I were to make a post saying, your business isn't running because, not because it's hard for people to buy, but because you suck at marketing. People be like, what? No, but inflation and it's really hard and not a lot of people are buying today and excuses, excuses, excuses. And underneath that, that might be a little tiny lingering thought saying, well, she's kind of right about that because I don't really spend as much time creating my content. I'm not being strategic about it. I'm not really planning it. I'm not really doing my best with my content. And maybe I hit a shame button by saying that out loud. That's also part of the triggers. So often there is something underneath that we don't want to feel, that we don't want to acknowledge. Maybe it is your mom saying something in a specific tone, and then you get triggered immediately because she did that all the time when you were a kid, and that's really annoying. And maybe that's the little kid in you who's still missing being seen and heard and valued by your mom in a way. And then every time that specific little thing comes up, you're like, ah, because you still hurt from not feeling seen. They linger. They linger. But as you train your emotional intelligence, your ability to sit with the discomfort of the emotions, you'll be able to stay in your power when you experience these triggers. The goal is not to never have these triggers. You will always have them. The goal is not to let them rule your life. For instance, with the weed thing, if I were to let my fear of smelling weed lead my life, I could never walk here in Nørrebro, where I live in Copenhagen. I could literally not walk down the street because this is a place where people are very free-spirited and they do smoke weed in some of the public places. And there's been parties that I couldn't attend to, and there's been friends I couldn't have because they might enjoy smoking weed every once in a while. But, and I'm gonna circle back to that later, how I'm gonna be able to sit with the smell is the difference. So instead of aiming for never having triggers, we aim for the inner knowing that no matter what happens, I'll get to handle this too. I got this. I got me. Let's jump back to the PowerPoint and see here. All right. So how do we navigate while triggered? So I have while triggered, and then afterwards we're going to talk about after the trigger. So while being triggered, this is what we want to do. First and foremost, we breathe. We breathe. Big emotions needs big breath to be transported through the body, because that's all that is. Emotion is energy in motion being transformed through your body. It is literally energy in motion in the body. So we want to breathe and actually make space for it. Instead of, a lot of us, we have this tendency to really cramp ourselves up, to make ourselves smaller, and then there's no space for this energy in motion to run through the body, and then it will stick and linger. So we want to stand up straight. We want to breathe, truly, truly breathe. And I've written here, you want to breathe through the nose and out through the mouth. And then you want to inhale on 4 and exhale on 8. So you want to make your your exhale twice as long as your inhale. Really supporting that body in navigating these triggers, because it's so important that we do so. Then we want to speak it out loud. Say it out loud. Let people know what you are experiencing and prepare them if it's possible, if you know there's a trigger. For instance, with me and weed, I would tell my friends, I really don't like it because I have this history and I have this story, and my friend, he almost died because of this substance abuse. So I get very easily triggered. So either please don't smoke near me, or if you smoke, which is all like you free will and stuff, just know that I might leave the party because I don't like it, or I might have a reaction, and that's because it triggers something within me. So for many years, I wouldn't even, like, my friends were scared to say they'd smoking weed over the weekend because they were scared I would be mad at them, which is my trigger having the power over me, because my friends should be able to do whatever the fuck they want. Like, that's not for me to say what they should do and shouldn't do. I get to choose what I do and don't do, and they get to choose that too. But speak what you are experiencing. This could be in a debate with your partner. You say, I'm feeling extremely triggered right now. I just need a moment to breathe. Have you ever seen, that TV show, How I Met Your Mother? There's this couple in there who has this pause button for when they are in a discussion. So they can actually pause their discussion. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. And I can't even remember what they're called. Marshall and this other girl. But when they are arguing, they can actually say, pause. And then they pause. And then they go have dinner. And then they go do something. And then once they're regulated, they're like, okay, unpause. You said this and he said that, and da, 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 da. But they have this pause which is so beautiful, like a safe word almost. So creating this safe word, creating this pause effect actually allows you to have some time to breathe through whatever is happening. And this goes a little against all these inspirational quotes saying you should never go to bed angry. Well, sometimes you should. Sometimes you should actually go to bed and get some sleep and breathe and rest and talk nicely in the morning because it can also be even worse. Your triggers come much faster when your body isn't balanced, when you haven't slept, when you haven't eaten, when you haven't been breathing, all these things. So it can be a really good thing to go to bed angry. Just tell your partner, I'm not leaving you. I'm just leaving the conversation for now so we can pick it back up. So it doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing. It really gets to be just you stating your needs. So speak it out loud, prepare people if possible, if you know there's a trigger coming. Then mind your thoughts. Mind your thoughts. As we get triggered, our thoughts have a way of running very fast into dark places. So we want to watch them. We want to question them. And the number one question to ask is, what am I making this mean? Let's take me and the weed example. So I see my friend smoking weed. What am I making this mean? They don't care about me. They don't care about how I feel. They're so mean to me. They don't respect me and my boundaries. Is that true? Is that true? Is that actually true? Or if I become triggered because some woman on Instagram is sharing her big, massive money win on her business, and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't shared that much win. I don't have that much money. I'm so scared. And that means I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not qualified enough. I'm not whatever enough. Whoa, what am I making this mean? I'm making this mean all these things because a woman is sharing her win. She didn't share that to trigger me. She shared it to inspire me that that is possible in the business world. When you have a business, she's sharing a result she's proud of. That's got nothing to do with me. So we get to pause in our minds too and actually take a moment to look at this. And then feel. Feel what's going on in your body. Tune into the body and feel what's happening in the body instead of being in your head. Your body is so freaking smart, and your body is the way out of your head. So if you are a person like I was for many, many years who lived neck up and only lived in the head, never in the body, this is really difficult. I get it. I thought it was really difficult too, and that's okay. That is completely okay. What we want to do is that we want to make sure that we have the ability to really feel what is going on. What are you feeling when you are triggered? I feel my chest tightening. I feel my stomach aching. I feel like I want to throw up. I feel like I want to scream. I feel a headache. I feel an ickiness. I feel scratching. I feel whatever you feel. Because the moment that you tune back into your body and how you feel, you stop your mind from going dark places. So you actually get to support yourself through the body, and your body is always willing to support you. Your body literally is your bestie. It's always with you. So we want to make sure that we really work with the body and let the body support us in a beautiful way that it can. So, yes, the body. Good old body always got us. It's so important. It really is. And it's been such a big lesson for me in my life to tune out of my head and into the body. Now, if it's possible, let's put it down here with smaller fonts. If it's possible, do some tapping, some shaking, some dancing. We want to shake off the trigger physically, just like dogs. Like we humans have the same need to shake things off our body when it happens, just like dog. If you see a dog who was, I don't know, almost in an accident, who had a really bad encounter with another dog, they shake because it releases that energy in their body and then they can go about their day. We have the same system, but at some point or another, people were just like, well, you know, it looks stupid when you shake in public, so let's not do that anymore. But it really fucking works. So if you're in a place, maybe you're at home, you're scrolling on Instagram, and you get triggered from that, shake it off. Shake it off. Shake your booty, shake it out of your system. Release that energy that's built in your system. Shake it off. All right. So here's how do we then self-soothe after being triggered, aka stay in your power. This is the staying in your power part, because when we are completely triggered the fuck out, we cannot do all this reflective work. Like it takes a lot of emotional intelligence to be able to do that when we're in the middle of a massive trigger. In a massive trigger, the best we can hope for is to really breathe deeply, and then we self-soothe and we look into it afterwards. So first and foremost, I always recommend journaling. Journal on what happened, what did I make that mean, what sensation did I experience in my body, what memories came up, what thoughts were running through my mind. Journal out the situation to get a better understanding. Sometimes if we are head people, if we run with our heads, we need to use the head to understand the thing. And that's fair. You spend your entire life living from your head. I don't want to change that from a single masterclass. I want to help you to use that for your advantage. So we want to go in and we want to look at what actually happened. What did I make that mean? What sensation did I experience in my body? What memories came up? What was the incident? What was the trigger? All these things. We want to journal that out. Then we want to move. We want to move and shake and dance and move your body in any way that feels good. Maybe you want to go to a boxing game. Maybe you want to go running. Maybe you want to go for a nice long walk. Maybe you want to do yoga. Highly recommend yoga. Whatever you want to do, move that body. You want to do some tapping. Personally, I am very much in my tapping era right now. So I do tapping every day and I love it. So you want to go through the experience while tapping. So tapping is these pointers. So you have your head above the eyebrow, temples, underneath the eye, under the nose, chin, collarbone, bra strap, wrists. You can YouTube these. Like there are a gazillion different ones on YouTube. You can simply YouTube these and you'll be absolutely fine. So we want to do some tapping and you want to tap on the experience. Being like, I was really triggered. I had this experience. I felt this in my body. This was this, and I made this mean this. And you want to finish with, and yet I still deeply and completely love and accept and forgive myself. This is what we want to tap into the body. This is what we want to put into the body. Even though I experienced this trigger, I still deeply and completely love and accept and forgive myself. And we want to talk about it. We want to talk to loved ones. We want to get hugs if possible. Humans needs a lot of hug a day. So hugs, if possible, hugs. If you have a person somewhere and you get a hug, maybe you want to ask them to, if you touch your spine, like the back of the spine, that's where the vagus nerves really come in, where you can really feel a calm sense really quickly. So have them just like let their hand go up and down your spine to support you a little bit and talk about it. And here, make sure that you just talk and that they are able to hold space for you just to share your experience. Touch yourself, cuddle yourself. Sometimes it can be touches like, you know, you grip your arm a little bit so you know that you are here, you know you are in your body, you are safe, you want to hug yourself, you want to cuddle, you want to like just put small daps upon your body, really making sure that you can feel your body once again, because we want to come back to the body when we've been this triggered. We want to use your senses. We want to be able to look around. We want to see that you are safe, that nobody's here to hurt you or anything whatsoever. Nobody's hurting you. No saber-toothed tiger is here or near or anywhere. And then we want to change the narrative. We want to create an empowered narrative and we want to change our story. So instead of saying, I was so triggered by, this always triggers me, we want to change the story. We want to change the story. I changed my story with the weed situation. So instead of, I'm always really triggered by the smell of weed, it is, I don't like the smell of weed. because I love my human so much who almost died from it, which was awful. So weed does make me feel good, and that's okay. So instead of weed does make me feel good and oh my God, panic, you should never do it. Nobody should ever do it. This is horrible. It's okay that I don't feel good about it. And this means whenever I walk by somewhere here in Nørrebro in Copenhagen, which is, yeah, a very liberal area. So whenever I go here and people are smoking weed on the street, instead of being like, ugh, and then my day is bad, then I'm just like, that's a bad smell. And that's it. That's literally it. It doesn't have to have any hold of me. And your triggers doesn't have to have any holds of you. You are more powerful than any trigger you will ever experience. And that's okay. That's okay. You are okay. We are all okay. It's just a trigger. Doesn't mean anything besides what meaning you give it. And especially in relationships, it's important to also know these triggers so you can actually talk about them with your people. Because if you have this trigger, let them know. I've had it as a solid boundary for me with all partners. If you want to smoke weed, I'm not going to be around you for 24 hours because I don't want to smell it. You do you. I'm not available to be a part of it. So they've never done it because I attract men who don't do it. But anyway, like, even with my friends, like you get to place these boundaries. And it can be boundaries around anything. Triggers and boundaries go hand in hand. Like, these are best friends. Because if you have triggers that you know and you're working on, you need boundaries to support you in them, to support you with the people that you have in your life. And boundaries are a good thing. Just want to state that out loud. Boundaries are the secret way to love you better. It is a secret way to better intimacy. Boundaries, if you set boundaries with me, it's like you're giving me a cheat sheet on how to take care of you even better. Boundaries are a good thing. This is some of the stuff we're working with in powerful relationships. Boundaries are such a good thing. It's so loving. Not having boundaries makes you so hard to trust. So I never know where I got you. So you feel, I feel insecure being around people without boundaries because I don't know where I got them, which makes me scared. So boundary is a beautiful way to take care of you and the relationship. And they need it when you work with triggers. So we really want to make sure that we are working with these triggers and that we are working with these boundaries as well. If any of you have questions about anything, plot them in the chat. I am very available to answer any questions that you might have on triggers, boundaries, anything. And I also just want to talk a moment about how triggers often come up in relationships. Relationships meaning friends, family, lovers, kids, any sort of human interactions. You will need triggers. Because in human interactions, in relationship, we have immense growth portals. When we can do only so much healing ourselves, the rest of the healing we need people to do. We need people for. So we want to make sure that when we work with our healing journey, when we work through the triggers and the things, we do it in powerful relationships, in relationships that are really two equally powerful people who get together to really connect. I have removed so many of my triggers. I have taken back my power from so many triggers because of friendship. Because of my friends, I have been able to bounce back. I've been able to radically, honestly owning how I feel. Anything from right now, I'm being triggered because you are not texting as much as you normally do. And I make that mean that you're about to abandon me. And then I don't want to talk to you because I'm avoidant in my attachment style. And so I just gonna say that out loud because I don't want to lose you. So like these conversations is the conversations that I'm actually having with my people. These are the conversations that are available for you to have. These are the conversations I teach you in Powerful Relationships. And this is so important when we talk about triggers, because triggers go hand in hand with relationships. You will be the most triggered by people. I'm much more triggered by people than by the smell of weed. Much more. Or by a picture perfect female body that you are supposed to have. Yes, that triggers me, but it doesn't trigger me in a way that my mom can, or in a way that a partner can do it. Like, so this is why it's so important to go in and actually really learn boundary mastery, to learn about your attachment styles, to learn about relationship dynamics, to learn about why am I in this relationship? What am I gaining from this? What am I learning here? How can I show up more authentically as who I am? How can I heal my emotional wounds? How can I create this deep soul connection to others? Because if you want that, if you really want these soul deep connections, you've got to be able to talk about your triggers. You gotta be able to talk about the triggers. If you cannot talk about your triggers, then you cannot find these beautiful, deep soul relationships. So this masterclass trigger is going to be a bonus episode for powerful relationships. That's what this is going to be used for later on down the line. When the recording replay goes off here, it is only available as a part of powerful relationships. And I really want to invite you to join us in Powerful Relationships. It runs from the end of April this year. It's 6 modules, and we are going to be diving deep into attachment styles. We're going to be diving deep into what is emotional core wounding. That's fatherhood wounds, sisterhood wounds, motherhood wounds, all these core wounding we get from childhood. We're going to talk about how do we actually communicate powerfully when triggered, when placing boundaries, when people are peopling in the annoying way. We're going to talk about how we choose the right partner and why you fall in love the way you do. That's also got to do with triggers and shadow work. And we're going to dive deep into that, figuring out what partner should you actually be looking for if you are maybe the eternal single in the group. This is a really good episode for you. And then we're going to, of course, talk about love languages and erotic languages, really connecting deeper with your partner, especially the erotic language. I hope you only use with a partner. Love languages you can use with all people in your life. You can really benefit from knowing your parents' love languages and really understanding how we connect with each other. So Powerful Relationship is a program for the deep soul who wants deep connections and who is fed up with this mediocre connection, small talk bullshit where we don't get down to the nitty-gritty soul. It's for the people who want to build loving, healthy relationships in their lives with their partner, friends, family. It is to those who want to heal these emotional wounds and really want to attach and attract healthy people into their lives. This is for you if you're done dating fuck boys or fuck girls. This is for you. This is why we want to understand falling in love and how dating could be really fun for you and why you should look for maybe another type of person in love and how to truly build this powerful, powerful love. And of course, as you are here on today's masterclass, there is a special treat. If you sign up before the end of the week being on Friday. So Friday the 12th, if you sign up before midnight, Friday the 12th, CET, Central European Time, you get a free one-on-one session with me. Powerful Relationship program is only 565 euros, and a one-on-one session with me is 420 euros. So you get a bargain. The Powerful Relationship program is waiting for you. Excited to have you there. And yeah, that's it. I can't wait to see you in Powerful Relationships.